Alright, Genesis 4. This is not just the story of Cain and Abel, it's the origin of violence, destruction, and injustice. And in Hebrew, you get a whole different story, and it's way smarter than people think. Well, I shouldn't say different, more like more detailed. Let's go. Genesis 4 opens immediately after Eden. No garden, no angels, no walking with God in the cool of the day, just work. Adam and Eve initially have two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain is a worker of the ground, like a farmer, and Abel is a shepherd. And here we already notice something important. Both are working, both are productive. And then they both bring offerings, and that's where we see a distinction. But this isn't the good versus bad guy part yet. The text says Abel brought the firstborn and the fat portions, obviously of his sheep. Now, in Hebrew, this is Bakor and Shaleh. Now, if you were going to describe for me your most prized possession, those are the exact same words that you would use. And in English, you can see that Cain then brings an offering from the fruits of the ground. Notice what's missing? In Hebrew, we see more detail here. No first, no best, and that matters in the Hebrew cost language. What that's signifying is that Cain just brought something, whereas Abel took a part of himself. And this is where the Hebrew can be just as confusing as the King James, because what this is saying is it was his prized sheep. Now, maybe that was also the firstborn, but that's an interpretation. But between the two brothers, that was the key difference. Well, that and of course, it was obviously a sheep. God regards Abel for his offering, but not Cain. And it never says God hates him, it just says that he doesn't regard the offering. So we can assume that this wasn't God rejecting him. It was, again, the Hebrew, as it says, just offering him feedback. And Cain does not handle that well, and he gets angry. The Hebrew word for anger is actually shada, which sounds really angry too. Because if I were to light something on fire, I would be also using shada. But this feedback doesn't make him sad, it makes him resentful. But then God speaks directly to him and says, "Why has your face fallen?" This is God's love. He's attempting to help him course correct. Stick with me long enough and you'll see that this is a direct reference to one of the most important lines in the Bible. It said later and said now, "If you do well, will you not be accepted?" In Hebrew, that says, if you do well, you can still rise. And this wasn't destiny or favoritism, it was simple choice. God issues him a direct warning. Its desire is for you, but you must overcome it. In Hebrew, that says that you need to learn to rule over your sin. And then Cain invites Abel into the field, presumably to help. And in Hebrew and English, there's no argument mentioned, no warnings. And Cain kills his brother. And notice the first motive. It's not anger or frustration with his brother, it's comparison. Cain doesn't want what Abel has, he just doesn't want Abel to have it. God confronts Cain again. "Where is Abel, your brother?" And then Cain responds with probably the most famous lie in history. "I don't know, am I my brother's keeper?" Hebrew, this is said with a terribly sarcastic tone. Now, God responds that his blood is crying out to me from the ground. Now, blood cries out. You can't bury your consequences. The punishment God gives him is very specific. He's cursed from the ground, the very thing that he worked. And he says, "My punishment is too great for me to bear," but he doesn't say sorry. No repentance, just, "Oh, woe is me." Then comes the shock. "Take this mark, boy." But the mark God places on him isn't to shame him. It's actually to protect him. Even now, God restrains his vengeance. And then Genesis 4 ends with Cain building a city. And it's interesting that the first city was built by a man who was a murderer and who was cursed to wander the earth. He named it after his firstborn son, Enoch. So what's the point of Genesis 4? It's that God cares how you give, not just how much you give. But you can also say that sin grows when comparison replaces responsibility. And violence begins long before the act. It starts in the heart. Unlike Genesis 3's question, Genesis 4 is giving you a warning. Deal with what's inside of you, or it's going to rule you.